Hello, welcome to Podfic Galore. I'm your horrible online reader, Goldscythe. I read out loud fanfictions for you busy bees, free of charge and no strings attached. Today, I will continue reading the Silmarillion fic by Aeolian Sands from Archive of Our Own called The Rescue Party. I hope you can at least try to enjoy my voice, and I'll try my best for you with the equipment available to me. Also, pardon for possible cat noises in the background I'm unable to edit out. On with the show. The Rescue Party, Chapter 35, Beloved King. As Finrod watched the great wing emerge from the depths of the canyon that had once been the river Teiklin, his only sorrow was that he would not be able to reach Gondolin after all. Eignor pulled up beside him on his white horse. Angrod already stood on to his right. The three brothers watched in silent reflection as a massive claw emerged and dug deep trenches into the earth. "I was not planning on dying today," said Eignor, as a great bellow of fire burst forth, and even from a distance, the heat scalded their armor. Finrod, ever the cheerful optimist, found that this time he had no reassurance to give. "Go," he commanded. "Take everyone and go. Flee to the south. I will buy you as much time as I possibly can. If you ever see Emmen, Atara, or Artanis again, tell them that I love them." "No! No!" declared his brothers as one. "Let the sons of Arafin stand together at the end," Angrod declared. "We, all of us, will stand together," Lord Edrahil called as he trotted forward on a bay horse, his golden armor glittering in the sun. "Your people will not abandon you, our beloved king!" He shouted the last word, and from behind them a cry went up from the host of Nargothrond. "For Findarato!" they shouted with defiant voices. Horns sounded, and Finrod turned his horse to look in astonishment at the waving banners of his gathered army. "Our beloved king!" someone shouted. Edrahil clasped Finrod's shoulder. "You are too well loved to die alone." And in that moment, with Anklagon the Black breathing hellfire out of a pit behind him, his brother standing beside him, and all his people before him, Finrod shed a single tear of gratitude. Unsheathing his silver sword, he raised it to the sky. "People of Nargothrond!" he cried in a great voice. "I will not lie to you! We face certain death today. I hold all judgment if you elect to run, and in doing so, save your life." But not one elf even looked to the south. All stayed rooted to the spot, resolute in their decision to fight beside their king. "Then, ready your horses!" yelled Finrod. "Let the Lord Masters of tomorrow doubt the glory of the holy trees. Let them doubt that our foe is Vala. But let them never doubt your courage, your unyielding loyalty, or your love of justice. I pledge to you today myself entire. Today I have no hope, no dream, no desire other than to sell this life of mine for as dearly as I might. And I will do so with cheer in my heart, for I know that my brothers in arms stand beside me, now and forevermore, for Nargothrond and the West! For Nargothrond and the West!" The war cry echoed, and then, as one, the horses charged forward, just as Ankalagon the Black pulled himself onto the plains, the weight of his footprints leaving craters in the earth. From beneath the dragon, and from the same terrible canyon from which he rose, came armies of orcs riding wargs and wolves. They galloped forward to meet the courageous charge of Finrod Felagund the Beloved. Galadriel shivered in Melian's study. He felt the tremors in the ground around her. Melian's hand was on her shoulder then. "Do not be afraid, Artanis. Your family needs you now. Your entire family." She nodded with grim determination and closed her eyes. She figured it would be easiest to start with her brothers. She concentrated on Finrod's bright fea and noticed that it was pulsing like a star about to shatter. "Findarato!" she called. For a moment, she got no answer. Despite herself, Galadriel began to panic. "He's not responding to me," she told her teacher. "It is all right, dear. Try again. Tell him to lower his mental shields if he must." "Arato!" she called again. "Artanis? Are you all right?" came the fast reply. Even through Osanwe, it sounded as if her brother was breathing heavily. "Yes, I'm with Melian the Maya and Doriath. Are you fighting? And then there was silence. Before Finrod could mentally reply to his sister, a great werewolf had appeared out of the enemy's forces, and fierce and terrible jaws had clamped down onto his stallion's throat. Finrod was thrown into the mud. As he rose, flashbacks of the Brakolach came to him, except this time there was no Barahir to save him. The mangled werewolf growled at him, blood dripping from fangs. Then a great explosion of fire overhead as the scaled beast annihilated the section of his army. Finrod did not have the time to pray for the lost. He knew one thing and one thing only. The werewolf would kill. The creature charged, grabbing Finrod's sword between its jaws and wrenching it aside with one great heave of its head. The king saw death in those red eyes. Artanis! Artanis! I love you! Goodbye! He cried, and then, with a great yell, he lunged at the werewolf that was blocking his path. With his nails, he clawed at the scruff of the neck, and then using his strength, managed to pull himself onto the creature's back. No, Findarato, speak to me. Or, Melian says lower your shields. I can help. I can reach the others. Tell me what is going on. Finrod could not reply. The werewolf bucked and rolled like a wild stallion, but Finrod clenched fist full of matted fur and held on. Then, an orc approached, and bright pain flared from the king's thigh. He looked to see an orcish spear thrust clean through his leg. The wolf beneath him gave a terrible howl, for the cruel shaft had cut deeply into its stomach as well. It fell, and Finrod fell with it, his leg pinned to the dying creature. For a moment, he lay there, breathing heavily, staring at the late afternoon sun. Arjen, he thought. Arjen, don't you see us? Do even you have no pity? Findarato! Artanis was nothing if not persistent. Hey, Artanis, he replied. Said no one else. No one else has to die. Artanis had never heard anything so asinine in her life. You are not dying today, brother, she declared. Then she opened her eyes and stared at Melian. He's dying. Findarato never speaks like this. He's always so full of hope. Then you must restore that hope to him. How can I do that? The Noldor are just not you and your brothers. Who else is out there that might be able to reach Findarato quickly? Close your eyes. Focus on your people. Think of where everyone is and who can move the quickest. You told me once that you crossed the ice to one day to establish your own kingdom. Well, your kingdom is here before you. It is yours to guide in its most crucial hour. Artanis bit her lip and focused her sight. She saw the flickering signature of her brother to the southwest. Then, there! In the mountains, Turkana and his valiant people were still fighting. In the far north, two great armies were gathering, one at Aethel Sirion in the west, and one at Himring in the east. A group of bright lights was moving north, a group that included her father and mother. Another small group was leaving Nargothron's hills. Who? Immediately, Artanis snapped her head back in distaste. Fëanorian cousins. No, said Melian gently. They are kinslayers. Yes, but do not be so quick to pass judgment. You too are exiled from the Holy Lands. But she wasn't a kinslayer. Exile meant she had braved the unknown, and she was proud of it. Hurry, Artanis. Put aside your grievances, or your brothers will not live to see tomorrow. Begrudgingly, he reached out to the eldest. Madras, she said. The mental shields that immediately fortified her cousin's mind were the strongest she had ever felt. Galadriel was about to curse when they lowered the slightest bit. Artanis? Came the confused yet ever-confident voice. Madras, I would never be reaching out to you, lest it was for a dire need. Findarato needs help. He's dying. You're not too far and must be following in his footsteps. If you ride fast. Has he engaged the dragon? Came the brisk reply. I think he must. I don't know. Madras swore. We have no horses. But Telperin, Guera, and Kurvo, they design arrows to fight the dragon. Perhaps one can help them to get there swiftly. Just as Artanis was about to agree, she saw something. Some Fëa moving in the far west faster than possible by foot on horse. One that she had not felt alive for centuries. Aragano? A few hours ago. While Argon, the youngest son of Fingolfin, had finally made it out of the hot springs, this alone could have been considered a miracle, he was refusing to leave the halls. Vaire was at her wits' end with him. Already her husband had abandoned her with this plan born of mental collapse. Unfortunately, she knew that to refuse to send the other members of Finwë's house back would only result in seeing the end to Elenwe's endless patience and perhaps to all things. So she had been faithfully sending the others back one by one, starting with Elenwe and gentle Ambarossa. Now Argon was being a stubborn mule. "I'm not falling on foot again," he announced as soon as his hra formed. "Lazy fool!" Vaire snapped. Arakana dared to turn his back to her and walk away. Vaire let him and was thinking that he could rot for all she cared when the elven prince returned with the Maya, both carrying folds of fabric that glittered like snow. The Maya had grey-purple hair interwoven with violet flowers and diamonds. She was not one of Vaire's own servants, that was certain, yet her blue eyes seemed too bright and too lively to be one of her husband's shades. Yet she was almost familiar. "I am Asia," the Maya bowed, answering the unspoken question. "I serve Lady Este. I am a herbalist and a healer." "I have seen you around these halls," Vaire commented, keeping her brewing anger in check. She blushed. "Yes, my lady. I first came here because the hot springs nurture many unique plants. Then I became friends with Prince Aracano." Vaire did not like where this was going. "And I am hesitant to show you, the weaver herself, but I made these." Asia gestured to the fabric in her arms. "They are sails woven from the bamboo plants that live near the springs." Vaire reached out to touch the soft but resilient fabric. "That's not all they are made of, or they would not sparkle so," she said, warning edge in her voice. Something brilliant flashed in the timid Maya's amethyst eyes. "No, but what else is my secret to tell? Just know that all my heart is in these sails. They are my great work. Rig them to any sturdy vessel, and it will take flight." "You crafted sails that make a ship fly?" "That's it. I am going to the far south of the world and never returning, come apologizing husband or the return of sanity." "It took many years, but in the end, yes." "Why? Did this girl truly believe that flying ships needed to be in the world in which Feanor, the pyromaniac ship burner, lived? The mental visions of ship-shaped meteors crossing the atmosphere were difficult for the Vala to ignore." "Well," she giggled, "I met a Noldo, and I foresaw that he would need them one day." Vaire sighed a great sigh. There was no point in arguing that, of course. The Noldor would need ships one day, since they treated them like Olorin's fireworks, but that didn't mean that you helped them acquire said ships. Still, it was as if the red string of fate was already tying destiny to a close. There really was no decision to be made. If chaos was the way to peace, then through chaos they would all go. "I even have a ship. I only ask your permission for Aracana to sail it." "I will, on one condition," Vaire conceded. "Prince Aracano, you will pick up your nephew Lomion on the way back to Beleriand. Somehow he too has become my responsibility. Somehow they all have become my responsibility, and if my husband ever returns home, he will be sleeping in the sailors one day for every elf who needs a body, boat, or flying ball of fire." "I would be happy to rescue my nephew," Argon answered with a lopsided smile that Vaire did not care for. "Will you be going with them?" she asked the girl. "No, I do not wish to betray my lady's trust, and my strength is spent. I will wait in Valinor for Aracana to return." "Praise Ero, you have some intelligence," Vaire thought to herself. Maglin was laying on an emerald hill, soaking in the sun. He decided that while Valinor was quite boring, he didn't totally mind it. Something was just so peaceful. It was as if he had never rested before in his life. No wonder everyone revered this land. And for the briefest of moments, Maglin wished that the Gondolin could enjoy this golden sun. "Hey ho! Lamion!" Maglin was startled out of his dark thoughts by an enthusiastically cheerful voice. He looked up at a ship. A flying ship with sparkling sails descended through the clouds. A rope dangled as the vessel came to a stop a few yards above his head. Maglin looked up in unease at the smiling elf leaning over the railing. His hair was wild and unkempt, half of it falling out of a messy bun. I'm your uncle, Aracano. The somewhat deranged looking individual introduced himself. Come aboard! All thoughts of peace vanished. Deranged uncles were part of yesterday's fires and had no place in the Holy Realm. He should have asked the elf why he was alive, why he was flying, or how he found him. But so shocked was Marklin that he blurted out the first thought that crossed his mind. You were the one who charged the gates of Angband? The elf on the flying ship winked. That was me. I value two things in this life. Moments of gallantry and moments of relaxation. Now is the time again for another gallant hour. Marklin should have run. This elf was unhinged. But he didn't really want to be chased down and crushed by a keel, so he took the rope in hand with some hesitation. Arkan swiftly pulled him in before he could change his mind. Welcome. Now, let's go save some brothers and cousins. Marklin couldn't help but voice the snide comment that came to him. And great uncles. Great uncles? I think those may be beyond our skill. They might just have to figure it out themselves while we enjoy a drink. But cousins? Cousins we can manage. Then the ship was moving, and Marklin once again wondered if this was a fever dream and how much would it hurt if he jumped. The present hour. Arkan felt alive. The wind was in his hair and the waters of the sea were flying way below him. He smiled like a madman and was about to urge Marklin to stand up instead of hunkering down below the guardrail when... Arakano? Was that Artanis? In his head? Hello? Cousin? Arakano, how are you moving so fast? How do you know that I'm moving? How are you speaking in my head? Never mind that. I have a flying ship, if you must know. What? Okay, it's not important now. Findarato needs help. Luckily, Lomian and I might have a thing or two to say about that. Wait, won't you wait for 1 second? Why is it, cousin, that everyone always screams at me to get moving, but when I finally do, you try to slow me down? Onward! No, idiot. This is why you were the first to die. Fëanor died first. Because he is our shining example of brilliance. Arkan rolled his eyes and wondered if Artanis could see that he was doing so through whatever magic she had conjured. But his cousin only sighed. Why was everyone sighing so much lately? And continued. Near Nargothrond, you will find Nelio and some of his brothers. They have special arrowheads. Special arrowheads? Aragorn echoed incredulously. First Artanis is in my head and now the Fëanorians are bowmasters? Has all the world lost its head? Just go find them. Then go help Arato. Of course, my lady cousin, Arakana replied. Never you fear. Tell Arato that the flagship is arriving. Lomion, put your sharp glance at use. We'll look for some Fëanorians. And then the business of cousin saving can commence. Oh my god, this chapter. End of chapter 35. Stay tuned. I try to gather my shit.